I have a gentleman that says he's in the stall next to you, and you stuck your camera under and started taking pictures of him. Okay. Okay, so what happened? Looks like your body language, that's what happened. I'm going to tell you this.
Yes, sir.
I can give this phone to my detectives, right? So I want you to listen to me before you answer these next questions.
Yes, sir.
You may have deleted it, but they have a program that can find the pictures that were deleted. So I'm going to ask you one more time if you're taking pictures of that man that was on this phone. Control 107, back outside at transfer level. I have a party with me. I'm going to interview him now.
How you
doing, sir? I need your ID, sir. Are you traveling? Are you coming or are you going? All right, let me see your identification, please. What reason would you possibly have to do that, sir?
It's horrible lapse of judgment.
Okay.
Sorry.
An airport restroom stall is a location where courts recognize a reasonable expectation of privacy. Under Katz v. United States, decided in 1967, the Fourth Amendment protects any space where a person holds a subjective expectation of privacy that society recognizes as objectively reasonable. A closed restroom stall inside a public airport satisfies both prongs of that test without question. Florida Statute Section 8, 10.145 codifies this principle as the Video Voyeurism Act. For an adult offender, knowingly recording another person's intimate areas without consent in such a location constitutes a third-degree felony, punishable by up to 5 years in state prison.
Sorry, he's not going to cut it on this one, sir.
What can I do?
Well, let me get your identification. We'll go from there.
Yes, sir. I made a mistake. Okay.
We'll work it out. For right now, I'm just calling information. Do you have any warrants, priors, anything like that? Sexual abuse, anything? Nothing?
Nothing at all. Like this is a mistake. Okay. Never do it again, I swear.
Control 107. Can you copy a Florida ID of the other party? Anything you want to say to me? Tell me what happened? Like, what made you decide to do that?
Just been a bad decision, man.
Have you done that before in the past?
Never, no.
Did you know who was next to you?
No, not at all. It wasn't even like a...
Do you have any images on your phone?
No.
Let me see your phone,
Show
sir.
you my phone.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
Go to the camera. He admitted to doing it. Said it was a bad judgment.
Oh, I'll never do it again.
Where's
The complaint is over by information desk. 7.
The camera was open, but I didn't take any pictures.
Okay, you understand why this is disturbing to somebody, right?
I absolutely understand. It
Okay.
was,
And I have permission to look through your phone since you said it's gone.
Please.
Okay. I'm going to tell you this.
Yes, sir.
I can give this phone to my detectives, right? So I want you to listen to me before you answer these next questions.
Yes, sir.
You may have deleted it, but they have a program that can find the pictures that were deleted. So I'm going to ask you one more time if you're taking pictures of that man that was on this phone.
Can I talk to you in private, sir?
The only person is another police officer.
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did. And then you deleted them.
Yes.
Okay. You understand that's a problem, right?
Yes.
The initial stop was legally sound. Under Terry v. Ohio, the Supreme Court held in 1968 that an officer may briefly detain an individual based on reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. Here, the suspicion came from a named, identified victim who reported witnessing the conduct firsthand. This is not an anonymous tip which Florida v. JL from the year 2000 would have treated with skepticism. This is a first-hand complainant account, and that distinction carries significant constitutional weight. The subject's pre-arrest admissions are admissible. Under Berkemer v. McCarty, 1984, Miranda warnings are not required during a Terry-level stop, even when a suspect makes incriminating statements. At that stage, the subject was detained, not arrested. His voluntary statements were not the product of custodial interrogation. Under Illinois v. Perkins, the court reinforced that admissions made outside a formal custodial setting carry full evidentiary weight, provided they were not coerced.
Okay. I'm going to hold on to this for a minute, okay? Huh?
Oh, well then, yeah.
Is there anything I can do?
My sergeant is talking to the party right now. So just hang on.
I'll give him an apology. I'll do whatever.
Sometimes it's not just an apology.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I'm just.
Let me play devil's advocate. You say you're sorry, right? Have a nice day. Next bathroom, you're doing it again. There's a child in the bathroom.
No, never. No.
But
I know what you're saying, but I.
There's 16 over there with the big egg.
Can I talk to him?
he might not want to speak with you.
There's 16
Relax.
over there too.
You're getting yourself more excited than you need to right now.
You'll see the sign.
I'm a very honest person. If I'm going to lock you up, I'm going to tell you I'm going to lock you up. All right? I'm not saying I'm not, but I'm not saying I am. But I'm a very honest officer, so you got to relax right now. All right?
He does want to do something. He said he felt violated and wants to make his day suck. And so, we're going to have to take his cell phone's evidence. And then
Deleted it, but
okay, you can still get it though.
I told him that.
Oh yeah.
I know.
Yeah, nothing's ever deleted.
I know.
So, I'm going to walk him down to the police department. He's going to give a statement, but he wants to do something.
Okay. All right, so what about his bag and stuff?
Did he just fly in?
Mm-hmm.
Airlines can keep him.
Okay.
He can come get him later. Because I'm not going to deal with all his bags. We're going to have to deal with the ones he already has right now. So.
Okay, and we're going straight to, you know what I'm talking about.
Unless he wants to sit down and give a statement, but I mean, we already said he admitted it and everything. So, in my view, I mean that's enough right there. So I'll just 26. Go ahead. I'll just get the victim down there and start giving his statement.
All right, we're gonna have to keep this for evidence, sir. Take your backpack off. You're all gonna be placed under arrest.
The consent phone search raises a more complex issue. Under Schneckloth versus Bustamante, 1973, consent to search is valid even when the subject is unaware of his right to refuse. However, Riley versus California, decided unanimously by the Supreme Court in 2014, established that the digital contents of a seized phone require a separate search warrant even following a lawful arrest. Consent given during a pre-arrest investigative stop occupies a narrower legal window than post-arrest examination. Any forensic analysis of the device by detectives would need to proceed under a judicially issued warrant to insulate the recovered evidence from a potential suppression challenge. The officer's advisement that deleted images can be recovered through forensic software is factually accurate. It is also legally permissible. Courts have consistently held that truthful statements about investigative capabilities do not constitute coercion, provided they are not paired with threats or false promises. The technique produced a complete admission where none might otherwise have been forthcoming, and that admission now anchors the prosecution's evidentiary foundation.
Please, no, I will.
Sir?
No, I mean, I'm complying.
Just step right over here.
Can I just go with you?
No. I'm going to put this in handcuffs for both of our safety. All right? Then I'm going to search you to make sure you have nothing on you. I'm going to take you, get you out of here, transfer you to the jail. All right? All right. We're going to have to get somebody to come get his bags. You going to take them? I think you're going to transport him in your car. She wants me to do the CRA or whatever. So we need somebody to go with you, right? Where are you parked?
I'm parked over here.
Okay. All right.
You got it?
Yep. What is it, sir? What is it, 17, 15 where y'all, sir? 10, 15? Control 107. I'm here because it's already embarrassed enough. When we get to the car, I'm going to search you, so that's why I didn't search you. You about to say something?
What will happen to me?
I mean, it depends on the charge. You have any priors, anything like that? You'll have to see a judge, probably make bail. But it's a sexual crime. The guy said he felt violated. And can you blame him?
What kind of charge is this?
I don't know, sir. I don't know the exact. All right, again, sir, I don't want to get pricked. I don't want to get stuck by anything. You have anything on you that's going to prick me, stick me, anything like that?
No.
No, I'm going to double lock the cuffs first so they don't move when you're being transported.
Yeah.
Say it again?
So you want me to search as I'm transported?
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. Good to go. You got it? Yep, you got him.
Mm-hmm.
If you scoot forward a little bit, it'll make it easier on your arms.
All right, I'll probably help you out.
New pending incident.
Control 142.
Go ahead.
Copy ending mileage 61079.
Go ahead.
Copy ending mileage 61079.
On the arrest itself, the officer's decision to apply restraints away from the public corridor reflects compliance with de-escalation principles and respect for the subject's dignity in a crowded space. Double locking the handcuffs is standard agency protocol. It prevents unintentional tightening during transport and protects both the subject and the department from unnecessary liability. Officer grades. The officer receives a B, procedurally sound throughout, effective interview technique, correct evidence preservation, and measured use of force. The one vulnerability, the absence of a Miranda advisement on camera before the definitive admission was obtained. As the detention transitioned toward functional custody, a timely Miranda warning would have eliminated any residual suppression risk and produced a cleaner evidentiary record. The subject receives a D. The underlying conduct constitutes a serious felony. His post-discovery behavior denial, selective consent, evidence deletion, then admission only under forensic pressure reflects deliberate management of the evidentiary record, not a single impulsive error. Physical compliance during arrest is noted, but does not materially alter the legal assessment. Lessons learned. First, deleting digital evidence does not eliminate it. Modern forensic tools routinely recover files from flash storage, even after multiple deletion cycles. Second, pre-arrest admissions are admissible. Anything said during a Terry stop can and will be used. Invoking the right to remain silent is available at any point, not only after a formal arrest. Third, for law enforcement, the Miranda timing question is not merely procedural, it is evidentiary. Advisement at the earliest custodial threshold removes ambiguity and protects the prosecution's case from challenges that should never reach the suppression hearing stage. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic that you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content on police court interactions.